Chapter 15. Water. We will learn Bowlies or step wells, Piau, water for irrigation, what float, sink, and mixes. Water is an important medium for various life processes, where it acts as a universal solvent. In fact, life sprang up first in the water bodies. We need water for a large number of activities in our life. Rivers, ponds, lakes, and wells are the sources of fresh water around our houses. Most of the houses in India have access to water taps in the house itself or in the neighborhood. They either get municipal supply of water or fix submersibles for themselves. There are many who use a motor to draw water. The localities in which water is scarce, people used to stand in big lines for their turn. The water is supplied in these areas for a short time. There are some areas where municipal pipelines are not laid yet. Municipalities supply water to these areas by tankers. In some areas, people have to go long distances to fetch water. In villages, people have to go to nearby canal, river, well, pond to fetch water. Bowli or step wells. A bowli or step well is an open well in which water is stored. Access to water is through a flight of stairs. The water of a bowli is mostly used for drinking and cooking and not for other purposes. Since there are other more efficient means of storing water today, step wells are hardly seen these days. Earlier, the kings and rulers used to get step wells constructed for drinking water. There were many bowlis in Delhi in the olden days. Knowledge window. Chand Bowli, situated in the village Abuneri near Jaipur, is one of the deepest step wells in India. Piau. You have often seen some people distributing water to the passerby in the markets, especially during summer season. To quench someone's thirst is a holy deed in our country. It is because no one can live without water, and if we are supplying water to a thirsty person, we are saving him. You can see that some people arrange water in tubs and offer to the people free of cost. Most of them do it to show that they care for other people. This is a form of temporary piau. Some piau are permanent in nature. You can see a water tank constructed on the roadside with water taps. The people who set up a piau believe that offering water to the thirsty begets them solace and satisfaction. In the ancient times, the bowlis and piaus were very useful for the travelers, as they got water on the way. Today, all railway stations and bus stations have adequate arrangements of water. Still, we can see piaus on several bus stations and railway stations, especially during summer season. Water for irrigation. In order to use groundwater for irrigation, water must be lifted to ground level so that the fields could be watered. Nowadays, this is done with the help of tube wells. Tube wells are actually pumps which help to pull groundwater. In the olden days, when such modern pumps were unavailable, animals or humans themselves had to draw water from the ground. Let us learn about some ancient means of drawing water. Denkli. It is also called paikotha or soduf. It is a hand-operated device used for lifting water. In it, a pole is unevenly mounted as a seesaw, with one end having a bucket and the other having a counterweight, which helps to lift the bucket up. The water is drawn by pushing down the bucket into the water, and the filled bucket gets lifted up by the counterweight. This was invented in ancient times and still used in India, Egypt, and some other countries to irrigate land. Persian wheel. In a Persian wheel, a wheel attached with buckets is allowed to be submerged in the water. As the wheel is turned using a bullock, the buckets rotate, bringing water to the trough, which carries water to the fields. Knowledge window. A Persian wheel is commonly known as rehet, which is an Urdu word. What floats, sinks, or mixes? To understand the concept, try the following two activities. Take 1 glass of water and 2 spoonfuls salt. Now mix the salt into the water with the help of a spoon. Now take a glass full of water and 2 spoonfuls sand. Try to mix the sand into the water with the help of a spoon. What difference do you observe in both activities? The salt disappears after some time, and the sand did not. Why is it so? This is because salt mixes in water while sand does not. Sand absorbs the water but does not mix with it and layer down in the glass. Thus, the substances which mix or dissolve in water are called soluble substances. Salt and sugar are soluble substances because they dissolve in water. Substances which do not mix or dissolve in water are called insoluble substances. Wood, sand are insoluble in water. The liquid can also be mixed with each other, but not all. For example, water and milk mixes into each other, but oil and water cannot. We can also mix gas in liquids. In popular soft drinks, carbon dioxide gas is dissolved in water. Did you ever wonder why does a wooden piece float on water while an iron piece sinks? This is because of the weight of the objects. The heaviness or lightness of an object is called its density. If an object has density less than water, it will float, and if an object has density more than water, it will sink. It is not just how heavy something is that makes it float or sink. Look how heavy real boats and ships are, and they still float. Floating or sinking has to do with the amount of water pushed out the way. And the boat will sink if you put enough stuff inside it. Small heavy things like a marble or a rock cannot float because they cannot push enough water out of the way. Quick review. Water is an important medium for various life processes where it acts as a universal solvent. In the ancient times, the baulis and piaus were very useful for the travelers. Tube wells are actually pumps which help to pull groundwater. Dekli is a hand-operated device used for lifting water. In a Persian wheel, a wheel attached with buckets is allowed to be submerged in the water. The substances which mix or dissolve in water are called soluble substances. Substances which do not mix or dissolve in water are called insoluble substances. In popular soft drinks, carbon dioxide gas is dissolved in water.